Alright, so I think it's about that time that we finally talk about the man or the entity itself, God. And as you guys can tell by the nature of this video, the title does say currently. This is a video that is probably going to be updated later on in the series once we've seen more from God, but I just felt like it was a pretty good time to talk about this because since the Monster Association is coming to an end and everything is starting to wrap up, and God is probably not going to make another appearance, or maybe just make one more appearance in the series, but you guys kind of understand that God probably isn't going to make another appearance for quite a while. So this video it just felt pretty fitting to make at this point in time. But of course, before we get into all that good stuff, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, because if you can't already tell, I post a lot of One Punch Man content, and if you like One Punch Man, then this place is definitely for you. Or maybe if you don't like One Punch Man, because I cover some other stuff on the channel as well. But apart from that, let's just get into it because there's quite a few things to talk about. Now, let's start off with the obvious things. Let's start off with, I guess, just naming some of God's abilities that, it has shown so far in the series. And to be honest, God actually hasn't shown a lot of abilities, but the abilities that he has shown are powers that are almost exclusively just for him, because God at the end of the day is pretty much confirmed to be the final villain of the series. So these abilities are probably going to be abilities that aren't going to be used by anybody else in the series. So anyway, let's just begin with, I guess, my personal favorite of God's abilities, which is power bestowal, you could say. He can bestow powers upon other people or monsters. And we've seen this happen with Homeless Emperor, because we know that before Homeless Emperor was Homeless Emperor, he was pretty much just a regular guy that was going through life. And God just came across him and decided to bestow power upon him because he saw that Homeless Emperor's view on the world was pretty similar, or just, I guess, benefited God himself. And I feel like that power in itself is a pretty busted ability, because if he's able to give power to someone like Homeless Emperor, who is a definitive dragon, you can only imagine how strong he would be, since I guess giving Homeless Emperor his power was not too much of a big deal for God in the end, because God did end up taking the power back pretty nonchalantly when he felt like he didn't need Homeless Emperor's services anymore. But moving on to, I guess, the next ability that God has shown so far in the series, and that is the ability to, I guess, telepathically speak to people. And I guess this can't be, it's not really that much of a big deal because it's not really a power that's going to affect how strong he is in a fight. But I just felt like it was pretty necessary to state in this video, because telepathy could be pretty good, especially when he's fighting in maybe a team, or maybe he has his disciples that he can talk through telepathically and tell them what to do, which could, as I said before, be pretty important in a fight. So obviously telepathy is pretty self-explanatory. He can just talk through his mind. He doesn't really have to say any words, which is, I guess, is a pretty cool ability, regardless of it not being that important in a one-on-one fight or anything. And God's next ability is actually called Mind Incursion, and according to the wiki, it says God was able to get inside of Homeless Emperor's mind and communicate with him. He was also able to freely change the appearance of his projection in Homeless Emperor's mind. Later, it seemingly used a similar ability on Tatsumaki, changing its appearance to that of Blast and trying to lure her into taking his power. Now, this is also a pretty deadly ability, because this has kind of been shown already in the series with Homeless Emperor and Tatsumaki, but who knows, God could use this later on in the series on other characters that are more susceptible to this kind of thing. For example, I would say someone I guess maybe Darkshine or maybe Flashy Flash could be more susceptible to something like this, because I guess Flashy Flash is constantly trying to get stronger, obviously, and he's trying to surpass his limits, and obviously Flashy Flash is just someone that likes to get stronger. So I guess him taking power from another person, I can kind of imagine that happening to Flashy Flash. So, and of course, you know, Darkshine as well has quite a weak mindset, and you know, Darkshine is also quite obsessed with getting stronger and being the physically strongest. So taking power from, I guess, an external source is also something I see Darkshine being susceptible to. And I guess maybe Flashy Flash less so, because I mean, Flashy Flash is, I guess, has a stronger mind than Darkshine, but I guess Darkshine is probably like the prime example of someone that is very susceptible to this kind of thing, because as I said before, he has quite a weak will and quite a weak mind, as shown when he fought against Garou. But I guess this is kind of all of God's abilities that we know so far, and I feel like I should talk about some more, like some other miscellaneous stuff that has been shown by God in the series so far. And one of them is actually, I guess, just creating monsters, just straight up creating monsters. He can also bestow powers, but he can also just create them straight up. Like, for example, he was able to create Sage Centipede. Sage Centipede was purely made by God, and there have been theories that have been circling around the community that, you know, I've seen, that has basically theorized that God is the sole reason for monsters in general. And if you guys have been keeping up with a certain someone series on the truth of One Punch Man, then you guys would know that this is pretty much confirmed that God is the sole reason for the existence of monsters. So that in itself puts God on a completely different level of power from any monster that we've actually seen so far in the series. Maybe not Boros, because Boros doesn't come from Earth, and it's basically implied that God is responsible for monsters on Earth, not anywhere else. So maybe excluding Boros, but characters like Orochi, Carnage Kabuto, you know, Goketsu, etc., you get the idea. They are all created by God. So in itself, well, by proxy, you could say God is pretty much confirmed to be above Dragon. Like, he's definitely not above Dragon, since he can easily create characters or monsters like Sage Centipede that are pretty much confirmed to be above Dragon level monsters purely off of their strength alone. So I mean, it's pretty much confirmed that God is probably a God level threat. Let's be honest, I mean, God's name is God, and it would be pretty underwhelming if he wasn't a God level threat. Well, he is going to eventually be revealed to be a God level threat, I believe, but it would be pretty underwhelming, as I said, if he was left to be a disaster level unknown. But apart from that, if I was to do like a proper scaling for God, I would say, I'm not too sure if I can say he's universal, because he hasn't really shown any abilities that have been on a universal scale, but I can definitely safely say he's at least planetary, since he is like in control of the entire Earth and he can create monsters all around the globe. So I would say he's at the very least like a planetary level character. But apart from that, I feel like that's pretty much all I have to say for God. Tell me what you guys think in the comments about how strong God is currently in the series. Do you think he's stronger than planetary? Do you think he's universal? Do you think he's multi-continental? Whatever. How strong do you think he is? I really want to know, because I feel like there's quite a spectrum when it comes to how strong God is. But apart from that, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And apart from that, I'll see you in my next video.